Welcome to Hubert's Crime World. Everyday new episode is a previous wonder competitor, previous mother of the year. Yet I say previous on the grounds that now Lori Dayringer has all the earmarks of being another person. Lori Daybell has two missing youngsters, J. Vallow, Tyler Ryan, vanish in September months. After the fact, there's no indication of something going on under the surface. There's no indication of death. There are simply questions, disappointing inquiries, gracious glance at how attractive we simply need to assist the family with finding these children. I'm an individual from the Facebook bunch Christmas Wretchedness, and it's devoted to genuine realities of endeavoring to find these children. When I contemplate their mom, Lori Vallow, I'm enraged. Police say Lori Vallow deceived them about the youngsters' whereabouts, and afterward vanished a day after the fact. She's off in Hawaii, getting hitched, having a great time, when the entire US is attempting to track down the children. However, she won't express anything about her youngsters. Where are your children? How about you simply give us a remark? Let us know where they are. The hardest part is learning more realities that become exposed, and the likelihood that the kids are, as of now, not alive. The last spot Tyler Ryan was seen was Yellowstone Public Park. There is no proof of Tyler Ryan leaving this park. Anything might have happened. The FBI is currently approaching wherever Yellowstone is wild, and it's huge, and it's overflowing with danger. You have wild carnivores, you have profound, remote woodlands, you have seething white water streams. There are many spots to conceal a body in Yellowstone Park. Individuals online are hypothesizing that there's plausible that Tyler might have been driven into one of the hot pots. These pools are not just bubbling, however, have the sharpness of sulfuric acid. Examiners attempt to sort out what befell her kids. I need to see my family butchered on the news. Consistently, you don't have anything to say. I've heard things said regarding Lori that not even one of them are valid. Lori could never hurt her kids. She could never hurt her kids, and I realize her JJ say, hello, she's not a beast. She's not a cutthroat, virus-determined, deadly kind of individual. Lori, why won't she just emerge and say where the children are? Unfamiliar. Did you do something to your youngsters? Where are your kids? Are your youngsters still alive? Welcome back, Lori. Where are your children? Whatever you need to say, Lori. She's turned into a public fixation. Lori Vallow hasn't let out the slightest peep about where her youngsters are. Lori Vallow Daybell, Idaho mother, who never detailed her 7-year-old child JJ and 17-year-old little girl Tylee missing. Nobody has seen the youngsters in months, and there has been no obvious indicator of decisive, and in spite of her capture on kids surrender charges, she's still not talking. However, as per her family, there is a justification for that. This evening, Lori's mom and sister stand up in their most memorable organization interview. You'll get an entirely different point of view on Lori and why she's remaining quiet. Lori, where are your children? Yet first, back to the Lori boldness. Daybell, the other world knows a lady who has a ton of making sense of to do, says insightful correspondent and 48 hours specialist Morgan Lowe. Lori Daybell has two missing youngsters. Lori Daybell is associated with dubious passings. Lori Daybell has all the earmarks of being someone that has a dark cover over her, except if she's the one that is making these terrible things happen. That is what the FBI and experts in no less than 3 states are attempting to sort out as they sort through a tangled story that many accept will prompt homicide allegations, claims that actually shock companions who knew Lori before she became quite possibly of the most denounced lady in America. At any point, hope to accept that someone you thought often about or gazed upward to is fit for something grievous. However, sadly, that probably won't be the truth here. This truck is nothing similar to the companion she used to know, says April Raymond, whom we addressed on Skype. They met in 2015 at the neighborhood Mormon church when Lori and her significant other Charles Vallow moved to Kauai from Arizona. Everybody experienced passionate feelings for her. Immediately, She truly gave a great deal of pleasure to individuals that she encircled herself with. Everything about Laurie appeared to shimmer, says April, including her union with Charles, a fruitful speculation. Consultant, I had never seen two individuals wedded that were what I saw as really content with one another, and I felt that those two were Charles, was Laurie's fourth spouse. He'd been hitched before as well, and both had developed kids. However, together they were raising another family, Tyler, Ryan, Laurie's little girl from a previous marriage, and the as of late taken on JJ, Charles's sister's grandson. Laurie was a remarkable mother. She was everyone's desired mother to be. My little girl cherished Laurie similarly, however much she cherished Kylie. Name 10 things you like about me, right presently reverberating on it. Idaho's little girl, by SIA, was closest companions with Tyler and a consistent guest at the Vallow home in both Arizona and Hawaii. I could do without this channel when the young ladies would go to the shopping center or the films or to the lake in Hawaii. They would go all boarding, go to the oceanside, zip coating, that multitude of undertakings. Laurie was generally there, consistently, a piece of it. JJ say greetings, as is Laurie's child JJ, who has mental imbalance and unique requirements. I truly respected how patient she was with him and how much consideration she took of him. That incorporated an assistant's canine named Bailey. Neil Mestas was Bailey's coach. The canine assisted settle him down, keep him with quieting. JJ had a troubling propensity for meandering around midnight, frequently outside the house. Bailey helped change that. One of the primary evenings that JJ stayed asleep for the entire evening was the first night that Bailey snoozed quite a while bed with him, so it was really wonderful. Yet even Bailey couldn't replace his older sibling Tyler, and JJ have a mind-boggling bond and simply a lovely relationship, and she dealt with him and deals with him as a subsequent mother would. Are you taking advice, Dio, of my kid, your kid, my kid, and she's super sweet. She can be cheeky. She's simply a superb, wonderful young lady. However, in 2017, the relational peculiarity started to move. Tyler was feeling the loss of her companions on the central area, so they moved back to Arizona. Then something in Laurie started to change from what we have heard. She began to give somewhat less consideration to the children, and that is the point at which the break in the marriage began happening. April says Laurie had started perusing the books of Chad Daybell. I had, as of late, delivered my personal history, a writer and podcaster from Rexburg, Idaho, who recounted Judgment Day. Furthermore, individuals planning for the apocalypse over the long run. Some say Laurie turned out to be increasingly more fixated on these super strict convictions, wandering far past customary Mormon regulation. In the start of 2019, Laurie vanished and left Charles with the two children, and this was for about 2 months. We feel that she got together with Chad Daybell by then, and she begins speaking with Charles in some truly unusual language. She was saying that she accepts that she's the anointed one, and that she can address dead individuals. She likewise addressed April about it. She felt like she had existed on Earth. A few times she felt like she had otherworldly abilities. The companion you knew before was fundamentally the world's ideal soccer mother, and presently she's truism. She is basically a resurrected God that is right then. April says Laurie offered something that would take on a significantly more evil cast. In the months ahead, she let me know that Charles was at that point dead, and that there was a devil living within him as Pat. Charles, she even said, on the off chance that you hold me up, I will kill you. It will kill you, and by then Charles Vallow concluded he will seek legal separation. Charles was so frightened by his better half of very nearly 13 years, he set up his feelings of trepidation as a written record. It's not too far off in the separation desk work. Charles was stressed over his life, and he was likewise stressed over the existences of JJ and Tyler. He realized that terrible things were not too far off. Unfortunately, Charles Vallow could never have been all the more close to 7:40 a.m. on the morning of July 11, 2019. Charles went to Laurie's rental home in Chandler, Arizona, to take JJ to school. Under an hour after the fact, Charles was dead. Lori's sibling, Alex Cox, had shot him at 8:36 a.m. Alex Cox put this 911 call. "Is he breathing? I can't see." He said, "I really want to report a shooting. I shot my brother by marriage." Justifiably, he's not moving. The police showed up and shot this body cam video of Alex Cox. On the control outside the home, he lets them know that Charles and Lori got into a battle. So you get a contention. What is it over all around my sister? He was getting physical with her then. He says Tyler emerged from her room. With a bat she emerged to guard my sister. It was her quick. Alex, says Charles, then got the bat from Tyler and came at him, hitting him toward the rear of the head. So I went to my room and got my firearm. Alex then, at that point, tells the official he returned and shot Charles 2 times in the chest. Both Tyler, who had run outside, and Lori say they heard the shooting yet didn't see it. Lori says she then, at that point, strolled past Charles' body and gone out to get JJ, who'd been holding up in the vehicle shed. Completely then, drove him to school, and eventually a little soon thereafter, Lori and Tyler come approaching the house. "Who are you? Okay?" Stand around there for simply a second, folks. The police obscured Tyler's face since she was a minor. "Does your better half live there?" No. The thing was striking about the recording was that hid young woman. They were extremely casual. "How long have you resided here?" "Like 3 weeks." "Goodness wowzers." "No doubt." "Okay. That is the reason the neighbors gotcha. Like, are you working?" At each of the 3 were addressed at the police base camp and delivered. "He's here in the lounge room. His last name is Vallow." Unfamiliar. Scholarly of Charles' demise on Google, everything began to check out of nowhere. April recalled that peculiar point Lori made long before the shooting, that Charles was at that point dead and had an evil presence living within him. "What happened to you?" "I felt truly debilitated, and I recently realized something was extremely off base." Unfamiliar burned through no time, says correspondent Morgan Lower. Under 20 months after her alienated spouse, Charles Vallow, was shot dead, she got together her 2 children and moved to Rexburg, Idaho, home of that writer and podcaster Chad Day Ringer. "I enlighten really concerning my 2-year passing encounters and how that provoked me to compose my books. A known voice among Armageddon preppers, they accepted that the apocalypse is coming, and it is coming soon, and that it is occupant upon them to plan for itself, and that implies storing food and supplies so they can make do until they are taken to paradise." Supposedly Lori accepted the finish of times, had a date, July 22 in 2020, and that she had been appointed to lead the anointed ones to her. There were 144 individuals that planned to endure Armageddon. She had been delegated to accumulate the leftover individuals from the picked. April says Lori attempted to enlist her as one of the picked, however it would have come at a weighty value. Her 2 young men. "What did being a particularly favored one involve?" "Essentially, that I would have to isolate myself from my kids and join her and find the other divinely selected individuals so we could be in every way together. I deferentially declined her proposition on the grounds that was simply going excessively far." Toward the beginning of September, Lori Teeley and JJ moved into this condo in Rexburg. Her sibling, Alex Cox, moved into this equivalent complex. Alex and Lori had a truly cozy relationship. "I think it was more than sibling. Who cares for sister? I think it was was a greater amount of sibling, who was the master who rebuffed individuals who crossed sister." In 2007, sometime before Alex shot and killed Charles, he went after Lori's 3rd spouse, Joe Ryan, with a taser firearm and was condemned to 90 days in prison. Lori kind of seen Alex as the destroyer of terrible things in her eyes. He was there to deal with the issues that puts this now on the map. Image of Tyler so unnerving to so many. It was taken on September 8th, about 7 days after they showed up in Idaho, says Detective Rich Robertson. There are photos that show her and JJ and Alex in Yellowstone Park, and that was the last time she was seen. And the key there is that Alex was there. We realized JJ left the recreation area that day. These photos from a neighbor's doorbell camera show him 9 days after the fact we took. Realize he went to class until September 23. The 24, the Lori told JJ's educators she was going to self-teach him. That is the last anyone saw him the next week. Lori purchased a $36 ring on Amazon. The following day, she purportedly shopped online for a wedding dress. It would before long be clear who the expected lucky man was. Chad Daybell. A large portion of the bolts highlight them having a relationship while they were as yet hitched to others. Charles Raw was currently gone. Yet when Lori purchased that ring, Chad's better half of 29 years, Tammy Daybell, was still without question alive. All that changed only 17 days after the fact. 49-year-old Tammy Daybell kicked the bucket. Suddenly Tammy's passing was odd from the outset. Family said she passed on in her rest. They didn't need an examination performed. She was covered in Utah around 14 days after the fact. Chad Daybell wedded Lori Vallow in Hawaii. They accomplished something beyond start new lives. They rehashed their old ones. Let Chad's folks know that Lori was an unfilled nester. However, at that point, the exterior came crashing down when JJ's grandparents in Louisiana, Kay and Larry Woodcock, could take it not anymore. Every time grandmother Kay Woodcock would call, there would be an alternate reason about where the children were. Lastly said, something is bizarre here. She had heard an adequate number of reasons, and she at long last contacted the police. Music in late November, north of 2 months after the youngsters were most recently seen. The Rexburg police thumped on Lori's entryway to mind the children. Lori said they weren't there. Lori let him know that children were remaining with a compact neon of hers down in Arizona. Specialists then, at that point, went to that companion's home, who let them know JJ and Tyler were not there. So by then, someone was lying, and it was undoubtedly Lori. However, she wasn't. The cap gone about as though he didn't know Lori very well. Chad left out one pivotal detail, that he and Lori had been hitched for a considerable length of time. These falsehoods were beginning to find Chad and Lori. Yet by then, Rexburg police executed a court order, yet they were gone. They had left town. The police immediately gave an explanation that the youngsters' lives were in peril. By then, everything changed. Lori was going to become one of the most loathed ladies in America. I've heard things said about Lori that not even one of them are valid. This horde mindset of master, just hung in a public square, essentially is what it seems like. It's peculiar. There are exciting bends in the road, and police currently are requesting for anybody's assistance who might have data. So tune in up. You might realize something. Say howdy when news hit that these two grinning kin vanished, and their mom never revealed the missing individuals. The world over was spellbound by the OD story of the clique mother and her missing children. Multitudes of resident digital detectives met up. Web-based Rexburg mother Deanne Carter is one of them. What is it about this story that unites such countless individuals from such countless various foundations from everywhere the world? It's these two kids' individuals interface, and you need to assist you with needing to do what you can. Their gathering is 14-0 in number and developing, says Annie Southam, with such countless individuals with countless various subject matters. Assembling those pieces, ideally the entire riddle, can sort of be settled on the home front. JJ's grandparents, Larry and Kay Woodcock, sent off a public campaign. It makes me extremely upset. It's killing my spirit. I simply need those children back as family companions, and outsiders were asking for answers. Lori and Chad were in Hawaii partaking in a lengthy special night. There's some stuff that nauseates me. Like their photos near the ocean, where he's playing the ukulele and she's moving around in her dress. Yet as this case began building steam, their capacity to carry on with an ordinary life there began to disintegrate. They had inconvenienced quite recently going external their front entryway, since they didn't know whether they planned to run into specialists or writers Lori Lady Upper East Idaho News. Might you at any point let me know where your children are? East Idaho journalist Nate Eaton found them at a neighborhood resort. There's kin around the nation petitioning God for your youngsters, appealing to God for you folks. How about you give us answers? That is extraordinary. That is extraordinary. That is extraordinary that they're petitioning God for you, appealing to God for your children. What on January 25, 2020, Lori was requested to create the Kids to Idaho experts. In 5 days, she disregarded it. So she's set collared. She's arrested in Kauai. Lori was accused of 3 wrongdoings and 2 crime counts of departure and non-backing of ward youngsters, a staggering catastrophe for Lori's mom Janice Cox and sister Summer Shiftel. Janice addressed her girl after the capture when you asked her how are my grandkids doing. What did she express? To the extent that I can recollect, that she said, "You know me, mother, the children are fine. Where it counts you truly do accept." I accepted it, yes, she said exactly the same thing to me. We know there's a... Furthermore, Summer say Lori was so frightened, she escaped to Idaho to safeguard herself and her youngsters. They accept she could be concealing them now, to guard them. I don't have the foggiest idea about every last bit of her purposes behind doing what she's doing, yet I realize she has the reasons. Yet that actually doesn't make sense of why Lori was off in Hawaii, moving near the ocean with Chad Daybell, while her kids were mysteriously gone. Something's not accumulating here. Where are they? Where is JJ and Tyler? That is an extraordinary inquiry. We couldn't want anything more than to know the response to that. We don't have any idea. However, we realize we are very sure that Lori could never hurt her kids. She's the best individual I know. She's the very most caring, adoring individual that there is. They say the genuine Lori is nothing similar to the Armageddon fanatic Charles expounded on in his legal documents. Is Lori part of some unusual religion? No, not that we are aware of. No, she's not planning for the apocalypse. She doesn't really accept that she is driving the 144-0. She has never said the apocalypse will occur in July. That has never come from her mouth or lips, ever. A great deal of the things that have been accounted for, any little bits of insight that are in there, have been contorted, yet the vast majority of them are absolutely not even valid. For instance, the police revealed nobody saw or heard from JJ after September 23 ARD. Yet Jana says she called Lori on October 1st, an entire week after the fact, and could hear JJ playing behind the scenes. She gave us our telephone records that showed a 97-minute call. He was fit as a fiddle. How would you know that? However, in light of the fact that I realized JJ, nobody will profess to be JJ. At one point she says he really got on the telephone and said, "Hey Mimi," his epithet for her. You talked with him on the telephone. Yes, and I heard him, and he was out playing, no doubt, and he simply takes the telephone, you know, and he realizes you realize he knows what our identity is. Who he's, you know, he still knew on Mimi. You know he still knew me. Mimi, the Rexburg police aren't remarking on the call yet. Janice and some mere need to put any misinformation to rest on something different, or rather another person, their child. What's more, sibling Alex Cox, Lori's supposed master, the one who shot and killed Charles Vallow. Is Alex the partner in crime here? No. He's not. Alex was the nice, loosened-up, comical sort of individual. There's nothing about him that was a contract killer. However, we might in all likelihood never know, though. Genuine story. On December 12th, Alex Cox unexpectedly dropped and later passed on a post, not set in stone, of regular causes, yet we're actually anticipating the dissection brings about another demise. Tammy Daybell's body was unearthed 2 months in the wake of being covered to perform toxicology tests. Furthermore, for what reason do you run a toxicology test? Since you're searching for medications, or you are searching for toxic substance. And how could they be searching for poison, since they're exploring the likelihood that she was killed, which began as a chase after 2 missing kids ventured into something a lot greater and, surprisingly, hazier, and regardless of what her family accepts, it wasn't solid for the previous lovely lady, says Morgan Lowe, taking a gander at these cases independently. You start to see that there is a shared factor, and that normal denominator is Lori Vallow. She has a dead spouse, she has 2 missing kids. She has another husband who has a dead wife. She is the component that associates these different cases together. Do you think Lori truly concealed Tyler and JJ? Hear from Faction Master Vegetation Jessup on Facebook at 48 hours on Spring 5th, 2025 months, after police say Lori Vallow Ringer's kids were most recently seen. She's in that plane. He was removed from Hawaii to a minuscule air terminal in Rexburg, Idaho, to have to deal with kid surrender penalties. Morgan Lowe was there. She escapes the plane, and she's wearing a tactical armor and encompassed by officials, and they whisk her into this vehicle subsequent to being one of the principal journalists in the country on this story. Morgan had Lori with an earshot. The SUV halted directly before me, and I find myself 4 inches away from Lori. Where are your children? Why you're not let anyone know where your children are? And she glanced through the window with this bizarre kind of devoid demeanor all over and afterward. The day of Lori's underlying appearance in Rexburg, the court was dilemma-pressed, and Lori strolls in, and she's wearing this orange and white striped prison outfit, and this red lipstick. It was a particularly odd sight to see Miss Day chime. Do you comprehend what consider one claims well as the greatest punishments? Yes, I could do without to detest on individuals, or talk gravely, yet it made me distraught. She had tidied up done right by herself, yet nothing about the youngsters. It's likewise a crime. Under Idaho Code 18,401K is attempting to clutch trust yet. Her brain continues onward, back to something Charles told her Lori said about JJ. She didn't need JJ any longer. JJ was a lot for her to deal with. Adding to Kay's interests, police found a container of physician-endorsed medication for JJ's mental imbalance with 17 pills. Staying the last time it had been filled was a long time before JJ vanished, and recalled JJ's administration, Canine Bailey, the one he cherishes so much. Lori returned him 3 weeks before JJ vanished, which actually confounds the Anine's mentor from the start. I said, I don't think I heard you right, who might take a freezing and hard individual, which I feel that is what her identity is. Lori's sister and mom say that is hogwash. They guarantee Lori stored JJ's prescription, so he didn't require that pill bottle found by police. And concerning Bailey, I don't think Bailey is an issue. All things considered, there's a ton going on that doesn't approve. Include I truly do be aware of the canine. I was around there. A ton. Charles cherished Bailey J. was not exactly connected to it. Is fine without him. Yet in the months after JJ and T. Y'all disappeared, Lori made a few outings to a Rexburg, Idaho stockpiling unit. You can see her here on the reconnaissance camera, and inside that unit, things that have a place with the children, bikes, toys. Things appreciate that it's really difficult to reach an alternate resolution other than the children were never again near, and as of now, not required. This stuff significantly more dooming than what Lori left behind. Perhaps what she took with her to Hawaii. JJJ and Tyler's introduction to the world endorsements. Tyler's bank card, which had been utilized since her vanishing, and Tyler's mobile phone. I don't have a clue about any teen young lady that would be all right with being isolated from her telephone. Could Tyler's PDA? She told me in September that she had seized Tyler's wireless. Janice and Summer say Lori didn't believe Tyler should be followed through her telephone. She was generally unfortunate of the people who she said undermined her and the children. She put her little girl first all the time. She cherishes her girl and her kids, and she forever resembled putting Tyler's and JJ's necessities in front of her own. Yet by April 2020, the examination had moved past the youngsters' vanishing. Specialists were investigating Lori and Chad for homicide and Tammy Daybell's demise. Music. He came at me with a bat and they were investigating the passing of Charles Vallow. Perhaps this wasn't self-preservation. Perhaps this was an arrangement stand around there for simply a subsequent folks, and I can perceive you that individuals who know Charles or knew Charles accept that he was baited to that house to be killed April for 1, has never accepted that tale about Charles hitting Alex in the head with a home run stick. It's one since Charles wasn't a savage individual, the second being that Charles had been a baseball player and a competitor in school, and assuming that he had hit Alex with the bat in the manner that they guaranteed that he did, Alex would have been significantly more harmed. No-cut lady called paramedics, definitely Charles feared. Laurie, as per those legally binding notes, he expounded on his thought process, could happen to him, and he was legitimately terrified of that. He wasn't frightened of Laurie, even the entire time he was seeking legal separation and everything he was asking for her to come back today. JJ's grandparents are doing the asking. I tend to get exceptionally profound. When I discuss the youngsters, I get very close to home. When I discuss JJ, is my heart. The Woodcocks are offering a $20,000 prize for any data prompting the kids' return while they paused. And trust the FBI has directed its concentration toward Yellowstone. The last spot Tyler was seen. Yellowstone is one of the last really wild places left in this country. There are numerous ways of dying in Yellowstone Park. Are you taking a video of my kid? These were the great times, the senseless times. Take a gander at how attractive the treasured minutes among loved ones' cheerful family. It's still hard for Idaho to accept that life went from everlastingly to gone. It's so miserable. It's this entire thing, only every last bit of it is simply shocking reverberation, says she and her girl, Visha. Tyler's dearest companion, are supplicating. She and JJ are as yet alive secret, someplace protected to brave the end of the world. The main spot they could be is certainly not a compound or a fortification, or somewhere totally off the network. Janice, do you believe they're in a dugout someplace? I feel that is conceivable. However, with every one of the title's allegations, Laurie has faith in zombies, and Laurie's previous discussion about evil presences and ownership. April Raymond is dreading the most obvious. Obviously terrible. Do you think Laurie Vallow is equipped for killing her 2 children? The truck I knew by no means, except for I don't have any idea what they're. Genuine Laurie Vallow is equipped for. Laurie purportedly asked Chad Daybell to pass judgment on her kids as far as dim and light spirits. This as of late revealed email from Chad to Laurie in October 2018 provides Tyler with a rating of 4. 1D importance. Dim. Tragically, it's not unexpected for April. It torments me to say, yet she would agree that Tyler had a dim soul. The FBI is supposedly going to send off its very own dim mission, a pursuit in Yellowstone Public Park, the last spot Tyler Ryan was seen. Yellowstone Master and a specialist, Aaron Teasdale. Yellowstone Park is an exceptionally puzzling spot. You have places that are very remote, so to pull off something or conceal something, Yellowstone is a fantastic spot for that. A chance excessively horrible to consider that hypothesis that Tyler might have been driven into one of Yellowstone's many bubbling pools, the purported hot pots. There are instances of individuals that have fallen into those and their bodies just totally disintegrated. That is a truly horrendous idea. Aaron Teasdale has 1 or 2 doubts of this hypothesis. There's various degrees of corrosiveness. There's various temperatures in the event that you don't pick the right pool. It's not really going to work yet. Yellowstone, with its rough territory and wild ways, is great at maintaining its mysteries, says Teasdale, assuming that there is something dead in Yellowstone. The living local area of the recreation area will find it at times. The bones will try and get eaten. In a circumstance like this, it's not at all impossible that there will be very light tettle to find Laurie Vallow. Daybell stays in prison in Rexburg, Idaho. In May 2020, she showed up in court to request that an adjudicator decrease her $1 million bond, wearing a veil due to the COVID pandemic, I am not the least bit lean to return to past judgment on Eden's choice, where he that solicitation was denied Lori's legal counselor imprint, implies talked after the consultation. Paying little mind to how you feel about strict convictions, individual convictions activities, inactions she's qualified for a guard. We keep up with her honesty, Chad. Daybell has not been accused of any wrong. Owing and seems to remain by Lori JJ's Grandma K is presently interesting to Chad. On Facebook composing show us if Tyler and JJ are okay, and I'm beseeching you, Chad, and this now in barely 7 days. It will be JJ's 8th birthday celebration. Consistently before you hit the sack, you realize you're awakening to this reality. What is your take before you nod off? I supplicate we simply ask about it. That is everything we can do. Tyler and JJ's other grandma says she's doing likewise. We love Tyler and JJ with our entire existence. As the quest for Tyler and JJ proceeds, with their quiet presence, floats over the town of Idaho, Rexburg, 2 kids who disappeared immediately and inexplicably, without any indication of life, no indication of death. Assuming you have any data about Tyler and JJ, contact Rexburg Police, 208 359 3000. For what reason do you figure Lori won't say where the kids are? Catch wind of Yellowstone's purported zone of death. But right now, maybe. Everything is unusual. We are in general stuck at home. And like you, I'm feeling a piece vulnerable at the present time. However, I believe you should realize we are hanging around for all of you, cooperating. You are in good company. That is correct in light of the fact that we as a whole are in this, and all of us are in this, all of us are in the same boat.